In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to graph linear parents function. Parents function is the most basic function in a linear family. So y equals to x is a linear function, and another way to put it is f of x equals to x. So f of x is just another name for y. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to graph this. Okay, and then later in this lesson, we're going to take a look at transformation of linear function. To graph this, if you know what x is, you can come up with y. If you know what x is, you can come up with f of x. So, okay, so your x is the input. Okay, and then your y is the output. So based on what x is, you can come up with y. So to graph this, we're just going to randomly pick any x. So over here, I have a 2-column table. So the left column is going to be what x is. And then once we have x, we can come up with y or f of x. Okay, so I'm going to choose these numbers for x. I'm going to pick -1, 0, and then 1. So when I plug these numbers in, let's say I put -1 for x. Well, y is -1, so it's the same thing. So when x is -1, okay, my y is -1. So I have a point -1, -1. Now if I plug in 0 for x, I'll get 0. Okay? And then I plug 1 for x, it's going to come out to 1 for y. Okay, so now I have 3 points that I can plot to come up with the graph of the parents function, which is y equals to x. Okay, so here I have a coordinate plane. All right, and then my horizontal line is going to be the x-axis, and then my vertical line is going to be the y-axis. I'm going to plot these points and then come up with the graph of a line. So to graph -1, -1, I would go left 1 unit and then down 1 unit. So here's my -1, -1. Okay? 0, 0 is right here. We're not going anywhere. It's at the origin. And then 1, 1 is when I go 1 right and then 1 up. Okay, so I have those 3 points that I can make it into a straight line. Okay, so here is my graph for y equals to x. This is the graph of a parents function for the linear function. Okay, so next I want to talk about transformation. The graph of a linear function, which is the graph of a straight line, can be moved around the coordinate plane. This is called transformation. So here is a linear equation, y equals mx plus b, which happened to be a slope-intercept form. Okay, so this is a linear function. Okay, it's called slope-intercept form. How the transformation works in terms of b, which is the y-intercept, and then in terms of slope. So now let's talk about the slope. The is the slope. So this is the slope of a line. Okay, so if the slope is less than 0, which is a negative number, right? If the slope is less than 0, so if this is a negative number, reflection across the x-axis. Again, if the slope is a negative number, you have a reflection across the x-axis. Now, if the slope is between 0 and 1, so if your slope is between 0 and 1, if your slope is between 0 and 1, your transformation, the line is going to be flatter. So that was, now if your slope is greater than 1, let's see. Okay, so if your slope is 3, it'll be steeper by a factor of 3. If your slope is 1/2, it'll be flatter by a factor of 1/2. So if your y-intercept, your b, so if b is negative, meaning less than 0, okay, it's going to shift down. So it's going to go down b units. So whatever b is, it's going to go down by that many units. So shift down b units. Now, what happened if b is greater than 0, meaning it's a positive number? So b is greater than 0. It's going to shift up. So it's going to go up b units. So these are the transformation that you need to know for this lesson. Okay, let's say I want to graph y equals 2x minus 1. A linear equation that is in slope-intercept form. Okay, because you have the y-intercept. Okay, this is your y-intercept. This is where it crosses the y-axis. And this is your slope. Okay, because it's y equals mx plus b. So coefficient of x is your slope. This is called slope-intercept form. So I'm going to show you how to graph this using the y-intercept and the slope. Okay, so here's the coordinate plane. Okay, so this is your x-axis. And then this is your y-axis. So to begin graphing this, you first need to plot the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is -1. Okay, right here. Y-intercept is -1. So you are going to find -1 on the y-axis. So here's your origin. So let's say this is -1. So -1 on the y-axis, and you are going to put a point there. So that's one of the points that's going to be on the line. Okay, so to get the other point, because you need 2 points to make a line, right? So to get the other point, you're going to use the slope. So your slope is 2. Now think of 2 as 2 over 1. Because 2 over 1 is just 2. Think of slope, okay, is rise over run. So the 2 is your rise. Okay, and then the 1 is your run. So rise is when you go up and down, right? And then run is when you go left or right based on these numbers. Okay, so 2 is the rise. So from your y-intercept, you are going to go up 2 units because you're going up 2 because it's positive 2, it's rise. If that was a -2, then you would move down. So 2 units, so 1, 2, let's say we up here. So up 2 units, so 1, 2, so you start from your y-intercept, 1, 2, then your run is 1, so you're going to go over 1 to the right. So you have these 2 points to graph your line. Okay, and there's your graph. So this is the graph of y is 2x minus 1. I'm going to use a function notation this time. We're going to use f of x. And we all know that f of x is just another name for y. So f of x equals to negative 1/3 this time, x. And as you can see, this is also in slope-intercept form, right? F of x is x plus b. Okay, so the 4 is going to be your y-intercept. So that's your y-intercept. This right here is your slope. Okay, so that's going to be your slope. All right, so we're going to graph using those two numbers. So here I'm going to make a coordinate graph. Okay, there's your x-axis. And this is your y-axis. So first thing we're going to do, plot the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 4. So you're going to find positive 4 on the y-axis. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is positive 4 on the y-axis. So we're going to put the point right there. So one of the points on this line will be right there, because that's where it crosses the y-axis. Now your slope is negative 1/3. So your slope, so the slope for the line is negative 1/3. Okay? Now it doesn't matter, because we have a negative here, it doesn't matter if that negative goes with the 1 or that negative goes with the 3. Okay, so let's say we have a negative 1. Let's say we have it this way, negative 1 and then 3. So this is your rise. So that means you're going to go down, right? That's your rise. Because it's negative 1, we're going to go down 1 from the... And then this is your run. Okay, so we're going to go right 3. Down 1, 3 to the right from the point on the y-axis. So here we are. So we're going to go down 1. Here's 1, right? Down 1. And we're going to go 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3. So down 1, 3 to the right. So we're over here now. Okay, so we have enough points to make this line. Okay, so there's your graph. Okay, so that's the graph of f of x. Okay, this is the first one we're going to look at. So this example said to write an equation that would change the graph of the parents function accordingly. So here's the first one. We have a and b for this one. So how do I come up with a new function? Okay, a new equation to show this. Okay, so from the parents function, it's shifted up 2 units and then flipped it over the x-axis. Okay, so how do we come up with the equation? So here we have y is mx plus b, right? So now the b is when you shift up or down, okay, based on the number. Okay, so over here, if you look, it goes shift up. So the 2 is going to be a number that goes for b, right? And then it flipped it over the x-axis. So it's only going to flip over the x-axis. There's no flatter or steeper. So your slope is going to be 1. Okay? So how do we write this? Your equation is going to be y is, okay, so it's going to be, it's flipped it over the x-axis, so your slope is going to be negative. So it's going to be negative 1, right? We don't need to put the 1 there. The 1 doesn't have to be there. So negative 1x. And then because it goes up 2 units, it's going to go plus 2. All right, that's how you come up with the equation. And then you can rewrite this if you want to. You can rewrite this as y equals to negative x plus 2. The slope is a negative number, and we show that because it's right here. It's flipped it over x-axis. Okay, and then the b, it goes up 2 units. So this is the equation we're looking for. Let's take a look at another one. So this one, the transformation is flatter by 1/4 and then down 3. So how do we come up with an equation flatter by 1/4 and then down 3? Okay, so it's going to be y equals to, now your slope is going to be 1/4, so it's flatter by factors of 1/4. So it's going to be 1/4 x. Now because it goes down 3, it's going to be minus 3. Notice that your slope is between 0 and 1 because it's flatter, right? So 1/4 is between 0 and 1. And notice that your y-intercept is negative 3 because it goes down 3. Okay, so this is the equation that you have to come up with. Okay, so let's take a look at another one. So this one we are going to apply the transformation to the parents function. Okay, so you're given y equals to x is a parents function. It's made steeper by a factor of 3. So the slope will be multiplied by 3. Okay, and then shifted down 2 units. Okay, so your y-intercept, your b, is going to be a negative 2. So we want to come up with the equation of this new line. So your slope-intercept form is y equals to mx plus b. And we're going to place a number for b, and then we're going to place a number for slope. Okay? So now, this equation right here is made steeper by a factor of 3. So what is the slope for this equation? So here's the parents function, y equals to x. Okay? So what is the slope of this equation? Well, the slope of this is 1. Okay, so y equals 1x, right? So slope is 1. You don't have to put the 1 there. X by itself, so the x all by itself is the same as 1x. And what is your y-intercept here? Well, your y-intercept, because it has nothing, is going to be plus 0, right? So your y-intercept is 0. So now, this line, okay, so we are going to apply the transformation that the line is made, this line right here, the parents function, is made steeper by a factor of 3. So we're going to multiply this by 3. So what is 1 times 3? Well, 1 times 3 is just going to give you 3. So y equals 2. So 3x, okay? So this right here is made steeper by a factor of 3 right here. But at the same time, it's shifted down 2 units. So from 0, okay, from 0, it's going to go down 2. So you minus 2. So you minus 2 to 0 becomes a negative 2. All right, so this is the equation of the transformation. Here you can see that the line y equals to x is made steeper by a factor of 3. So here you got to multiply by 3, and then it goes down 2 units. Okay, let's take a look at another one. So this one right here, we have to come up with the equation of the new line after the transformation is performed on the given line. So you're given a line, okay, and you have to come up with the new line using this transformation. Okay, so you're given k of x. So your k of x is 6x. Okay, so you're given k of x. K of x is just another name for y. So k of x is 6x. Okay, so your slope for this one is 6. Okay, that's your slope. But there's no y-intercept, so your y-intercept is going to be 0. Okay, so there's a plus 0 there. So now, if the graph is made flatter by a factor of 1/2, so the 6 is going to get multiplied by 1/2. So the 6 there, okay, it's going to be multiplied by 1/2. And then it's going to flip. So that means, what does it mean when it flip over the x-axis? Well, in order for this to flip over the x-axis, the slope has to be a negative number. So this has to be a negative number. According to this transformation, there's no shift up or down. Okay, so this is just going to stay the same. All right, so your transformation, your new graph, your new k of x, okay, is going to be negative. Now 6 times 1/2, what is 1/2 of 6? So you go 1/2 times 6. Well, half of 6 is just going to give you 3. So the new slope is going to be negative 3 and then x. And then you can put plus 0, or you can just leave it the way it is. Okay, so here's your new k of x. Okay, let's take a look at another one, transformation. So this time we have two lines are given. So you're given f of x and g of x. You want to describe how the graphs are related. So your f of x here is 1/2 x minus 3. Then your g of x is whatever f of x is plus 2. Well, it looks like the transformation from f of x to g of x is that g of x is whatever f of x is. Then you're going to shift f of x 2 units up. Okay, so how do you describe that? So to describe how are they related, you can say that the graph g of x, okay, so we're going from f of x to g of x. So the graph of g of x would be shifted up, Okay, and then up right here, plus 2, up how many units? Well, up 2 units because of that plus 2 from the graph of f of x. Okay, and that's how the two lines are related.